Hello, everyone. I am cooking an egg, a cheese type thing. I just wanted to come back on here. They went to get some things, and I'm going to share another video on the Lord's Supper. Explained, I think it's how that says in the Bible, if you eat unworthily, you are eating and drinking sickness upon yourself. So this guy is gonna explain a little about that, and he is talking also something about he doesn't give an altar call when he partakes in the Lord's Supper. And I forget why he says that, but he basically is saying, so the altar call, for those of you who aren't really Baptist, I don't know what he is. He might be Baptist. He might have, maybe he's non-denominational. But a lot of these non-denominationals, I think they are pretty much Baptist-ish. But so he is going to explain why he doesn't. Okay, so an altar call is when you want to give your life to Christ. An altar also resembles, from what I understand in the old days, kind of like Isaac, or, Abraham put Isaac on the altar. The altar, you can, even after you're saved, if you're ever in a sin that you want to lay it down on the altar, and you may have to lay it down on the altar many times. I forget if it's an iniquity or a transgression. I think it's an iniquity, but it's something that you're sinning and doing, like, smoking for me, maybe. But to me, it's not what goes into the man that defiles him. It's what comes out, like cursing and bad-mouthing and gossip and slander and backbiting and all these things. That's what's coming out of your mouth. It defiles you. It's not the food you eat. And, smoking is pretty much worthless and a, big money pit. And it's damaging, yes. But that's not... if you're on medication off the street, or liquor, those are called spirits. Okay, liquor is spirits in the original Greek. Even back then in the Old Testament days, when those, like when Saul saw the soothsayer, they would smoke stuff. That's like marijuana will do. They would all, even today with the voodoo people, they smoke stuff. Even the Native American Indians, they smoke stuff. And it makes their mind mess up so where they can talk to demons, right? So, I bunny trailed. Okay, so I think I was talking about the altar. So when you have a sin that you don't want, like smoking, drinking, PORN, other transgressions or iniquities that you can't stand, and that's the whole point, is you're not happy in it. There are some people, Christians, that'll be like, well, God forgives me. No, they don't have a contrite heart. A contrite and broken spirit, God will not despise. You should look that verse up. So if you're bound or you're sinning by something and you hate it, that goes a long, long, long way. Just imagine. Also, if you're ever doubting your salvation, go read that parable of the Pharisee and the other guy. The Pharisee, they're praying, standing side by side praying, and the Pharisee, the regular guy, I don't know what they call him, he's sitting here, head bowed, beating his chest, saying, God, I am not worthy. I am filthy. And he is a lover and a believer in God. This is before Jesus, but Jesus is telling the parable. So when you're saved and you're sitting there at the altar or in your home or you're praying and you're like, Jesus, I hate this. I hate this. I hate this about me, my sharp tongue or my this or my that. Maybe you have a bad sharp tongue to where you're sharp tongue to loved ones that don't deserve it. That's the kind of bad sharp tongue where you're just always mouthing off and shooting off stuff that they have to constantly defend themselves because you're unnecessarily stirring up strife. So if you're sitting there like that other guy beating on his chest saying, because we aren't ever going to be worthy of Jesus. It's a free gift that we'll never be able to earn and we'll never deserve it. Never. That's why we are so grateful for his sacrifice, because he didn't have to do it and we do not deserve it and we will never deserve it and we will never be good enough and we will never be able to earn it. That's why we constantly have to be close to him and abide in him, because in our weakness he is made strong. So don't beat yourself up, but you can take it to the altar again and again, take it to Jesus again and again, say, I'm sorry, I hate this. But as soon as you start feeling like, oh, well, no big deal, God forgives me, he understands, Jesus paid it all so that I can sin and stay bound in this sin. And so, no, that is so totally bad, wrong. He says you need a broken and contrite heart. See, it's round. And then you can put it on a tortilla. And you can put some tater tots in there and a slice of bacon and some Shakira sauce, whatever that's called. Shakira something. Let me show you. Whatever that, how do you say that? But anyway, or whatever other kind of sauce. So anyway, I was just going to say that about the Lord's Supper because I made that comment and then I couldn't back it up with why. But I'm about to share you a video where he's explaining, maybe I think, why. Because when my old lady friend, I told you about her, she's Church of Christ, you weren't allowed to take the Lord's Supper if you were unsaved. When they have their little grandchildren or children sitting there and they're not saved yet, or you know, and they want the little cup and the little bread because it's so cute. Also, what was I going to say about that? Oh yeah, because it also says in there in the word that examine yourself. Are you sinning? Are you in sin? If you have aught against anyone, go reconcile with that and then bring your gift to the altar, I think it says. But some people think that they cannot take the Lord's Supper because they're in unforgiveness or they're in sin that they aren't stopping yet, or they haven't repented, or they haven't been contrite over. Okay, so, but that's really not it. And as far as the word ought against anyone, we always think, we assume it's unforgiveness. Well, one day I looked it up, and ought, unless the dictionaries are wrong, ought means money, not having ill will against somebody. Okay, so that's about all that I was gonna, look into discerning of the spirits, because there is a gift. Out of the gifts, there are gifts of the Spirit, which we have when we're born again. Sometimes we don't because we're still acting like the world. Then there are spiritual gifts. They're two separate things, two separate groups. You got your spiritual gifts and then you have gifts of the Spirit. Well, I forgot now what I was going to say. I was going to go over one of the gifts is discerning of spirits. So when people kind of throw that around, they say, because I know it's a separate verse that says test the spirits, and yet the other one is about a spiritual gift of discerning of the spirits. Now, when it says test the spirits in that other verse, that's basically discernment. So what I was going to do, and I haven't done it yet, is I'm going to find the verses about this. Because when they tell us, and they use that verse, oh, test all the spirits, test the spirits, to say, how can you test those spirits when you don't have discernment? Or maybe you don't even have that spiritual gift, but we all will have discernment. In fact, I think the spiritual gift is worded discerning of the spirits. Okay, so that's a spiritual gift. But when we have the Holy Spirit within us, and as we grow in Christ and abide in the vine, He gives us discernment. So, yeah, I haven't read around that in a long time. It says test the spirits. But when people say that, kind of like, I don't know if they know what they're talking about, because you really can't test the spirits if you don't have discernment, or if Jesus hasn't, giving you that gift, or if Jesus hasn't told you anything about that spirit. The only thing I can give about that is James 3:17. If you test that spirit and that spirit is fear, oh, you better stock up, you better this, you better, the trib is coming and la la la. That's a spirit of fear. That is not James 3:17, and that's a no. So any word of knowledge or any prophecy or any of that has a spirit that is not James 3:17, then it is not of God, and you need no discernment to do that. And as far as, the word ought, we all just assume it means something like bitterness or unforgiveness or something like that. But I don't think it does. I think it means money. But you can delve into that yourself if you're interested. But yes, we need to take the Lord's Supper and not be in fear because we are still sinning or sinners, or we still haven't gotten our flesh. See, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Okay? So stop beating yourself up. Christ is made strong in our weakness, because we're always going to have to lean on Him. Otherwise, we would come to a point in our Christian walk where we don't need Jesus anymore because we conquered it, right? That'll never happen. That'll never happen, because as soon as you think you're up there, He's going to whack you down, prune you. He may let you sit up there for a while and stuff, and that's okay. Maybe for a lifetime, the rest of your life. But He's going to prune us, and it doesn't mean you did anything wrong, and it doesn't mean, but if you think you did something wrong. So see, this is the thing. When there's no discipleship, people are left to their own devices and their own mind, and they're not told to read the Bible and dig into the Bible and find a sermon on that subject. Find several until you know which sermon is correct, or all of them are correct, but they're giving different things. So, this is why it's so important to read the Bible, or else you're going to condemn yourself all the time, all day long. Even the strongest of them can fall into that condemnation or judging in a bad way. You need to judge yourself and examine yourself, but not to condemnation. Okay, so, all right, well, I'll eat my goat cheddar cheese from Aldi, egg, and I put a little bit of sugar. Oh, and a little bit of salt. I wanted to show you guys a little trick. I went the wrong way. This is just, while we're waiting and occupying, We got to take care of our blessings, right? So if you guys have animals and sometimes they throw up or they have diarrhea, or if their throw up is like bile, yellow, and nothing gets it up. I use that urine spray, that enzyme urine spray. It works wonderfully, except sometimes it won't. So you get this kind, not this brand, but this kind of shaving cream, okay? The foam. You get this kind. Well, see, I used the urine spray on this spot, and it wouldn't get it up. But last night, it might faintly be here, but last night I realized about this. I forgot about this. But I'll try it on this other area. Now, this is rust, because I had an iron coffee table. Let me show you right here. And nothing has ever gotten this up. So I was just going to give you an example, because I forgot about the shaving cream. And I was just going to show you how, like coffee, for example. Sometimes coffee will not come up with even professional professional, it won't come up even with a professional grade cleaning. So, and then you just get a dry rag, like this potato cloth here, and you spray it on there, and you mush it in, and just rub it off. That's all you're gonna do. You sprayed it on, and now you're gonna just rub it off, and the stain will be gone by the time you have rubbed this off. It doesn't look like it's going anywhere, but, or am I looking at the wrong thing? So as you're trying to get the shaving cream up, the stain will go away. And like I said, coffee, oh, I see it still. So yeah, like I said, this is rust, because it was iron, you know, it was an iron-legged. But like I said, that enzyme urine spray works great. But if you guys have like a coffee stain that you dripped your coffee, or you had a doggy accident, or my cats are always throwing up hairballs because the one cat won't let me brush her anymore. Otherwise, I brush them every day. So yeah, that's still there, but that's okay. I could have shown you the other one over there, and then this will wear off as you walk on it, and it'll evaporate, and it's not going to stain your carpet. It's not going to discolor your carpet, because this right here last night was white, like that one over there, and it isn't anymore. So see, yeah, when it, so anyway, that was just another little, tip. While we're still here, while we're still worshiping Jesus, because, yeah, we're watching. But you know what? There are a lot of people, Christians, who are called to certain ministries, like taking care of the homeless, or taking care of battered women, or children, orphanages. They have certain missions that they were called to, and that is their life. That is what they were called to. Now, they may see that the end is near, but maybe they're not. But they will not be left behind just because they're not watching, just because they're doing what God put them as their ministry, and they're busy with that. Okay, they are still reading their Bible. They're still praying and depending upon Jesus. But if you're making your life out of watching the signs on every channel that exists, and at every angle, the sky, the news, the earthquake, you know, you're watching every little thing, that's not worshiping God. I'm sorry, that is not worshiping Jesus. We are to occupy until he comes. We are to lead people to Christ, lead people into the truth, lead them, by our example, by our light that's not under a bushel. It's not a personal thing when you're a Christian. It's not personal. It's personal to you, but it's not like, oh, I'm not going to share it because it's personal. That was such a famous saying when it's like, no, you're supposed to be ye separate, be in the world, but not of the world. There should be a difference about you. And if there isn't, then you are muddying the waters and you're putting your light under a bushel. And we are to occupy until he comes. We are walking disciples, walking examples, a walking Bible. And it's okay to watch, but you... And another thing I wonder, are all these people wanting to get out of here so bad because, the world is no more fun anymore. It's all falling apart and it's no fun anymore. And now, okay, well, Jesus was my last resort kind of deal. I mean, long time ago, I got everything I ever wanted. I got a home, security, safety. There was no danger of me being homeless. There was no... And I was always like, Jesus, thank you so much. But if I still want to go home. I still don't want to be here. I don't care what this world, you could lay it on me thick and I would have everything. I still don't want to be here. But sometimes I wonder if some of these people, they're like, yeah, I just want to go home because I'm breaking down physically and the world is crazy and I can't get stuff affordably anymore, or I can't this or that. Examine yourself. Because if you are doing nothing but sad sacking around and watching that, oh, is he closer now? Jesus isn't up there saying, oh, look at them, they're so cute, watching and pining away. Yeah, we long for his return. That's okay. That is biblical. But for you to just, that's all you talk about. Do you have family members you need to be laying your hands upon? Do you have people, as you do that, pray for them? There are hostages that don't have a nice bed to sleep in, right? They don't have anything. I just cry about that so much. How if I complain about one little thing and I'm like, oh God, number one, that's bad. Number two, there's a child or a hostage that would love to have that problem. That I'm like, oh, the oak trees are falling and now I got to sweep it again. Well, they would love to be able to be home to be sweeping all those things falling off the tree or getting sinus, problems. They would love to be able to smell the fresh air and the pollen and get a sinus allergy attack. They would love it. So, we need to mourn with those who mourn, weep with those who weep, laugh with those who laugh. We need to be part of the body that is suffering. Okay, I gotta go. I'm getting weird. Okay, love you all, guys, and God bless you. Bye.